Friday. I am excited to share this scenario with you this week because I think it can be something that's really helpful and also something that is really relatable too. So imagine that there is a project manager and they are working with IT resources that are internal, but that they aren't the supervisor of. And those resources, the team members on the project, are not prioritizing the project work for the project manager, and stuff isn't getting done. Even just that part can be fairly relatable and super frustrating. How do you move forward when things aren't getting done? So the project manager goes to the supervisor and says, what's happening? My project isn't getting any traction and we're not moving forward. And the supervisor says, well, you're not as noisy as the other project managers. Whew. Okay, so right here we're looking at something that is a cultural aspect of a company. Things aren't being prioritized based on what's most important to the company or most strategic. It's prioritized based on who is the most aggressive project manager, or maybe who is able to use their charisma to get things through. So overall, what becomes the company strategy? It's very emotionally driven. And that is not a great strategy, you know, when things are tight, when things get tough. And it's really just not the strategy that represents what's most important to a company. And a lot of times fingers get pointed at an IT resource, a staff member, somebody who's the person doing the work on a project, or the project manager. But there's actually very little about that culture that either person has within their wheelhouse, within their control. And it's much more of a larger dynamic of the company culture. So what to do? Well, if you are the project manager or the resource, really there's the potential to focus on what you have control over, what you can impact, and direct your attention there, because otherwise trying to change things that you don't have control over can be really frustrating, and also you can spin your wheels and not feel like you're getting anywhere, and then it becomes even more frustrating. But if you or you know somebody, or for the supervisor that finds themselves in this state where my people are prioritizing based on factors that are not representing our company strategy, what to do? And at that point, I just want to say there's a huge urge, or it's very common to want to micromanage and control and take it over. I'm gonna have to prioritize this myself because it's not working properly. And that's a short-term fix that has pretty long-term consequences, but it's also not scalable, which means now you're taking on more work than you'd have to if you had a prioritization mechanism that was consistent, repeatable, and scalable, which means other people can put it into action. It doesn't have to be from one source in order to be consistent. And a lot of times we think, well, if we want it to be consistent, we need the same person to do it. But in reality, if we can find a mechanism for prioritization that is based on our values, then multiple team members can take that same strategy and repeat it. They can identify what's most important based on the values of the company. So this is we're just scratching the surface here. And I'd love to have a bigger conversation with anybody who's interested. You can reach out to me at lifeevidence.com or here on Facebook, and I'd love to have a more in-depth conversation about values-based prioritization and how it can really be the model that puts your company strategy into action. Have a great Friday, and I'll see you next week.